Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are taking a truly fascinating and maybe a little unsettling plunge into a topic that's really reshaping how we think about connection.
hmm
It's called the Simp Economy and Modern Relationships.
Yeah.
Our mission here really is to pull out the most important ideas from our sources, specifically looking at Devin McClarty's work. It's pretty groundbreaking
It
stuff.
really is. And that work, it was central to those really sharp debates in the LoopSpeak at Intellectual Town Hall series, wasn't it?
Exactly. That forum, it's known for tackling these cutting-edge, sometimes difficult social and economic topics.
Right.
So what we're digging into is this new global classification, what it means for, modern connection, and maybe what it means for you listening.
And the core issue, the tension point.
Yeah, the big one is China has officially classified this phenomenon. So the question we're kind of wrestling with today is, should other places like the U.S. do the same?
It's a huge question.
Mhm.
And China's move, it's profound for understanding relationships globally. It's not just some internal policy decision.
How so? What makes it a global thing?
Well, it sets a massive precedent, right?
Yeah.
It essentially legitimizes talking about this stuff on an international level.
Okay.
When a huge economy like China formally recognizes something like this, well, it forces other nations to kind of sit up and think about their own approaches.
Right, policy-wise, socially.
Exactly. It challenges those traditional ideas we have about love, about partnership, because it adds this formal economic dimension.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, our role here, like always, is to unpack the ideas from McClarty in those discussions. We're not saying this is right or this is wrong.
No, actually not.
We just want to help you understand the arguments, what's going on underneath, and what the implications might be for how we all connect.
Okay, so let's unpack it. The simp economy. I mean, the name itself sounds almost like dystopian, something out of a book.
It does have that ring to it.
Yeah. So what's the actual definition McClarty's work uses? And maybe more importantly, why did China decide to, officially recognize it?
Okay, yeah, the definition really gets to the heart of it. The sources define the simp economy pretty precisely.
Okay.
They call it a growing sector where women exchange companionship or even marriage for tangible benefits like debt relief, gifts, or financial support.
Wow, okay. Companionship for tangible benefits.
Exactly. And the key part, like you said, is China officially recognizing it as a growing sector. This isn't just, internet slang.
Right, it's formalized.
It's a formal economic classification
Yeah.
by a major world power. And McClarty draws this really arresting parallel with the gig economy.
The gig economy, like
Yeah.
Uber drivers and delivery people, how does that connect?
Well, the idea is that it's not just about, say, services for payment anymore. It's framing personal relationships, or bits of them anyway, in that same transactional way.
Huh.
Think about it. Your companionship, maybe your emotional support, potentially treated like a commodity, like booking a ride.
That's quite a thought.
It is. And the implication is huge because it asks, if we track the gig economy for its economic impact, shouldn't we maybe track this too?
Which leads back to the U.S. question.
Precisely. Should America formally track it, like other economic sectors? Or does that, cross a line? Does it become about policing relationships?
Policing relationships. Yeah, that's a really charged phrase.
It is.
Hmm.
And that's the tension China, for now at least, seems willing to engage with.
Okay, policing relationships. It definitely makes you think about, government boundaries versus personal life.
Mm.
What does McClarty say about why this kind of formal label is so controversial, especially for something so personal?
Well, McClarty's work suggests the controversy isn't just about privacy, though that's part of it. It's about how it fundamentally redefines human connection itself.
How so?
By calling it an economy, it kind of shifts these relationships out of the private, maybe romantic sphere,
Yeah.
and into the public domain, the realm of commerce, something you can regulate, measure, quantify.
Right, which feels very different from how we usually think about love.
Exactly. Especially in the West, there's this deep-seated idea that love and companionship should be, spontaneous, selfless, driven by emotion.
Not by spreadsheets.
Not by spreadsheets, exactly. So the sources suggest China's recognition forces this kind of uncomfortable transparency. It makes us ask, have our romantic ideals always had an economic undercurrent we ignored? Or is this something genuinely new, a really stark commodification happening now?
So This official stamp from China really throws a spotlight on how relationships might be changing.
It does.
But what does McClarty's work say about how this actually plays out day to day? How does it redefine the roles, the interactions between men and women in this simp economy? This is
Oh,
where it gets really interesting, I think.
yeah, definitely. McClarty synthesizes these arguments about gender dynamics very clearly. It shows how having this economic classification starts to, well, shape behavior. So on one side, the sources suggest that women are leveraging financial desperation,
Hmm.
things like debt or just the high cost of living.
Right, realities for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Leveraging that to redefine dating as transactional. Now, this isn't presented as a judgment necessarily.
More like an observation of a strategy.
Exactly, an adaptation. McClarty's research points to examples like maybe unspoken understandings on dating apps, where financial stability is a big filter,
We see that.
or even more direct conversations where, say, a woman's debt or her lifestyle goals become a direct factor in whether a relationship moves forward. It's moving beyond just romance into what's basically a financial negotiation.
Okay, so that's one side. What about the men's role?
Right. Then the discussion flips. It asks if men are complicit by feeding this economy willingly. Are they providing the financial support, the gifts, the benefits?
Complicit. Strong word.
It is. Are they just adapting to a new kind of market for companionship? Or are they, maybe without realizing it, helping create that market?
So it's not just one side driving it.
No, it highlights this reciprocal dynamic. And the real tension point in the sources is asking who holds more responsibility? Is it the women selling value or the men buying access?
Wow.
Again, it's not about pointing fingers, but understanding the agency, the influence within this new economic framework.
Which really does raise that question for anyone listening. How might this affect how you see dating now?
Exactly. Are you noticing bits of this transactional feel in relationships around you? Maybe even in your own life?
It's a tough question. And it definitely makes you confront maybe some uncomfortable things about what drives connection today.
Mm-hmm.
But does McClarty's work offer any counter-arguments to that idea of complicity? Are there other ways of looking at the men's role or the pressures they might be under?
Oh, absolutely. The sources aren't presenting just one view. While complicity is definitely explored, McClarty also looks at the pressures men face.
Like what?
Like, living in a society that often still links providing financially with being romantically desirable.
The provider role.
Exactly. So the question becomes, are men willingly feeding this economy, or are they just responding to societal cues, to dating market realities, where showing you have financial capacity is often seen as, well, step one?
Ah, okay. So it's not so clear-cut.
Not at all. It's way more complex. It's this interplay of changing expectations, economic pressures hitting both genders, and just the basic incentives of a capitalist system.
Right.
The LoopSpeak discussions really hammer this home. It's less about individual blame and more about a systemic shift.
That's a really important distinction. Makes the whole thing feel deeper, more systemic.
It is.
So taking that systemic view, what does all this mean for, well, romance itself? Does this simp economy fundamentally change how we even understand love and intimacy?
Yeah.
Because for me, real intimacy, true intimacy, it's about emotional connection, being vulnerable, growing together,
Yeah.
not, balancing the books.
This is exactly where the cultural impact discussed in the sources becomes so crucial,
Okay.
especially when we look at the West. The central worry is pretty stark. In the West, is romance being replaced by economics? It's not just a small change. It's like a fundamental pivot.
Replaced by economics.
Yeah. If relationships start getting rooted primarily in what can you do for me financially, then the sources ask, logically, is love now a secondary concept?
Ooh,
It completely flips the traditional romantic script. And McClarty's work argues very strongly that this shift fundamentally hurts true intimacy.
How? What's the mechanism there?
Because it displaces the very foundation the deep emotional connection needs. When the main currency in a relationship becomes money or financial stability,
Yeah.
then those emotional bonds risk becoming, well, less important, maybe even superficial.
Because intimacy needs.
Intimacy thrives on vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
Trust, shared values, feeling accepted for who you are unconditionally. If those things are constantly being measured against financial performance or expectations,
And then the real connection gets lost.
it's undeniably impacted. It
Yeah.
gets sidelined. It becomes a nice to have maybe instead of the core reason for being together. And the sources get really provocative here. They ask, should men demand transparency, or should we accept that the market for love has gone corporate?
Wow. The market for love has gone corporate. That paints a picture.
It suggests a future where love is treated almost like any other commodity, which could leave a real void where that deep, genuine connection used to be.
So if we connect that to the bigger picture, a corporate market for love,
Right.
what does that mean for just like personal happiness, fulfillment?
It suggests a world where maybe the warmth of human connection gets overshadowed by the cold calculations of finance. It's a bit chilling, honestly.
Yeah, chilling is a good word. It definitely sounds transactional, not transformational.
Right.
Which brings up all these tough moral, ethical questions. Is this just the new normal we have to deal with? Or are there deeper issues here about fairness, exploitation, what makes a relationship real?
And this is where the ethical fog gets really thick, and where those LoopSpeak discussions, I remember, got particularly heated. The sources put the question right out there. Is it exploitation or a fair trade in a capitalist society?
Right. The two sides of the coin.
Exactly. On the fair trade side, the argument goes, if both people agree, if they both see value in the exchange, isn't that just adapting to the market? A rational choice.
Okay.
From that angle, it's maybe women responding to their economic situation, men responding to their desires, and both making a conscious decision.
But the exploitation argument.
That side points to the power imbalances that might be inherent here. What if one person is financially desperate? Does that make consent truly free? Or does the whole transaction undermine basic expectations we have about dignity, about genuine connection in relationships? These aren't just simple contracts. They involve deep emotions, social roles.
Things maybe you can't or shouldn't put a price tag on.
That's the heart of the debate. And to try and navigate this ambiguity, McClarty's work actually proposes something interesting, the idea of a cultural warning label for men.
Cultural warning? Wait, like on cigarettes? How would that even work for dating?
Yeah, it sounds a bit out there, I know. It definitely sparked debate in the LoopSpeak sessions.
I can imagine.
McClarty doesn't mean a literal sticker, obviously. It's more about a societal shift towards more transparency, more open talk about financial expectations and relationships.
So fostering a culture where it's okay to ask.
Exactly. Where it's acceptable, maybe even expected, to discuss the economic realities and the intentions behind the dating process.
Okay, I see. And the goal is?
The idea is to empower people, especially men in this context, to better tell when a relationship might be driven primarily by the transaction, not the emotion.
Create clarity. Reduce maybe manipulation or just getting your hopes up for the wrong reasons.
That's the potential upside, the efficacy argument discussed in the sources. But the drawbacks, they're significant too.
Like what? Stigma.
Exactly. Does trying to classify this, or even suggesting a warning label, actually create needed transparency and responsibility? Or does it just end up sticking negative labels on people?
Yeah, judging them.
Right. Could it stigmatize women who are genuinely looking for financial stability through partnership, which isn't necessarily nefarious, or men who are genuinely happy to provide support out of affection?
It's that accountability versus stigma tension again.
Precisely. So the call for transparency from the sources isn't straightforward. It makes us ask if we really have enough clarity to navigate this, or if trying to label everything risks creating more misunderstanding and judgment.
This has been, wow, an incredibly insightful deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From the definition of the Simp Economy, China's classification setting that global precedent, the shifting gender dynamics, that really profound cultural impact on romance, and especially how it hurts true intimacy.
Yeah, that's key.
And then all these tough moral and ethical questions, including that really interesting cultural warning label idea.
Yeah.
It's definitely clear, like the sources keep saying, this isn't just about dating, it's about the economics of relationships in modern society.
Absolutely sums it up.
Yeah.
And, if China, a major global power, can classify the simp economy, it really pushes us to ask why other nations, like America, might hesitate, or why they should or shouldn't follow.
Right. The precedent is there now.
It is, and whether or not formal classification happens everywhere, the sources really suggest we have to face the reality that money, finances, these considerations are deeply tangled up in modern partnerships now.
From the first date to maybe marriage.
Absolutely, from connection to commitment. So for you, the listener, the big question left hanging is maybe. How will understanding these economic undercurrents, this whole dynamic, how will that change how you approach or define your own relationships? And maybe even bigger, what does it mean for the future of love itself if it seems to be increasingly wearing the uniform of commerce?
That is definitely a question worth pondering. A lot to think about.